Never underestimate the power of dialogue in solving problems, because even wars begin and end on the negotiation table. The Nigerian Labour Congress, NLC, and the Trade Union Congress, TUC, have agreed to suspend their nationwide protests and return to the negotiating table with the federal government. This followed President Bola Tinubu's promise to fix the refineries, a key demand of Labour. Speaking at the meeting with the leadership of the organized Labour at the State House, Abuja, President Tinubu gave his commitment to them that the Port Harcourt refinery will start production by December 2023. Julie, when we saw the action yesterday, and we discovered that the action did not have the necessary bites and traction, so Labour did not have any choice than to go for negotiation. And immediately I saw them at the villa, I knew that, look, they were going to do something about that action. They couldn't have even afford, to sustain it.
No, it didn't look like something that...
It failed ab initio.
Yes, because, look, they tried to get a lot of the workers to join the protest. Yes, it didn't look like a real strike, you understand? But they tried to get workers to join the protest so that you can have a much larger crowd and a semblance of disruption can happen. But people continue to do their work. People are not ready to join the strike because, whether we like it or not, that speech that the president made went down well with so many people.
Yeah.
The speech was full of promise. Yes, that was the first time that a president would directly be talking to the people and addressing their concerns. And it was far-reaching. Some of the things that we told the president to do, like spending the fry, what's it called?
That's some people's dinner.
Yes, they go home. It's like that. Some, it is, what's it called? Noodles.
Yes.
It is noodles. So they have them like that. These are hardworking people. They deserve to be encouraged. So such people will benefit from this. People doing other petty businesses, including even telephone businesses in the rural areas. Yes, those people also need support. Once you're able to do that, it will galvanize the economy. And they are in position to also employ 1 or 2 persons or 3 persons of their own. We suggested this as alternative to the 8,000 naira that was going to be given to 12 million families. So that speech was a difference maker. Many people were happy because of even his fluidity. He read it very well. And he wasn't stuttering. He made this point. The Tinubu of today, the difference between Tinubu that they were making fun of during the electioneering season, the Tinubu that they call Bala Blue and the rest, the Tinubu that they composed a derisive song for, you know?
Popular one.
Yes. Baba we know where they shouted Miloko. That Tinubu is not the Tinubu that you are seeing now.
Definitely.
They've been looking for sound bites that they can hold on to. Since he returned from France, the fluidity has been self-evident. They can't point at those errors, and he doesn't need to read from any script. He just speaks his mind. They are wondering. Somebody said, did the man scam us? Was it not the same? They can't understand.
Somebody said it was deliberate.
Not even speaking as
who would have been deliberate? You say that who will have done that deliberately? The way the man was flogging his body at that time. Even we that were young, some people will go to Abuja today. Because he traveled to Abuja today, he will not go to work that same day. And he went by here. They don't have the energy. Now, that man will do 3 trips, 3 different states to go and campaign. It is so physically exerting. It's punishing on the human body. And when that happens, and you don't get enough sleep, there are certain things that you say that you won't even know when it comes out of you. They don't want to believe that that was the reason. Now they can't complain. They can't find those sound bites anymore.
They want to believe
Every time now they open their eyes wide looking for those sound bites. Those sound bites are
makers, nothing for them.
nothing again. So that's it. You cannot, and you cannot doubt the fact that he has his ideas about how we can move the economy forward. That's what he was telling them. And we told Labour, we said, look, commit yourself to dialogue. It's not everything that you resolve with strike. If you go and read some of what Ajero was saying, before now, you think by today Nigeria will have collapsed totally. There was nothing he didn't call this government. He said, no, we will not take part in any negotiations with them because the negotiations are meant to fail, that they have no plan, they have, come on. I mean, show some maturity. Today now, by themselves, they said, oh, just because of one promise that the president made, the refinery, the Port Harcourt refineries will be ready by December. Now, let's even tell ourselves the truth. Marketers have said if the refineries work and they provide the local refineries, if we get them working, they will reduce the pump price by 70 naira. Yes, no one should think that because the refineries are working, it will lead to a crash in oil prices. People should be told so that they can lower their expectations. Whether it's Dangote refinery that is working or our own refineries, it will not lead to a crash in oil prices. So Nigerians need to know what the advantage we'll get from that is we can save some of that forex that we are committing to
reduce the pressure on
refined fuel.
Forex.
Yes, so that people who need forex, a good number of them can access forex. That will help us and will help the value of our currency. But to think that it will simply crash prices, no. So it's a good thing that we are hearing from them, because the president also promised them that, look, the minimum wage will be addressed quickly. We have to state that before even Labour began to talk about minimum wage, Asiwaju's first ever meeting with the governors, the elected governors, he told them, this is the time for us to do something about the minimum wage, that we must give them a living wage. He said he made that promise. So why can't they believe him that he will do what he has promised? Yes, things are a bit slow, but it's understandable. It will take some time before those vehicles that they've ordered come in, but there's no way that if government does what we have been advising them to do, build service centers where people can at ease convert their engines to CNG-fired engines. Honestly, because somebody told me that it could cost up to 400,000. Nigerians don't want to be saddled with that. If you really want to ease the pain, government has to set up those service stations and ensure that people are not exploited. It is important, because every debacle we face, every big problem that we face as a nation, some people are thinking of how to make money. Yeah. When NIN came, they were making money out of it. There is nothing, when, what was it called? The Naira repainting that the worst CBN governor in our history came up with, people were being exploited. So government must make sure that even in setting up those service centers, that they don't use it to exploit the ordinary Nigerians who simply want to convert their cars to gas-fired engines that will ensure that they spend much less.
I think this is the time for the Nigerian Labour Congress and the Trade Union Congress to sit down with government and fashion something that is going to be all-encompassing. If you look at the population, the number of workers we have in the country, you discover that, look, it's less than 5% of the entire population. I think now government should look at what we address will touch everybody.
That is what we would have expected Labour to do at this time, before they went on strike. Not everybody supported. Not all Nigerian workers supported that strike. I know when I shared the link to...
Or protest.
When I shared the link...
call it protest.
Or the protest, or they call it protest.
So that the court will not come.
Yes. So when I shared the link of news about the protest, a professor friend of mine who lectures in university just said, no. He responded on WhatsApp. And that tells you that so many Nigerian workers were not in support. Not at the time that the president had even given a speech. After he gave that speech, I thought, I listened. I think I read that speech twice or more. And I said, this speech, very persuasive. You understand? So nobody denies the fact that there are pains now. I mean, nobody's going to undermine the pains that Nigerians feel. We're all in it together. We all feel it, one way or the other. So the thing is, every time it can't just be strike and strike and strike. So what Labour needs to do is to continue to dialogue and then make sure that they can also come up with more suggestions. Then make sure that government implements the promises. But one thing I would even like to say here is that, I would also encourage government to pay attention to making sure that the funds that are released are used for the purpose for which they were. When you say you release these billions, what about corrupt officials that siphon some of those funds? So we should be able to take care of all of that because, the Nigerian thing, we keep hearing they've committed funds to this and to that. So we expect that there should also be mechanisms in place to prevent corrupt people from diverting some of these funds into their private pockets. It's very, very important. Very, very important. Because many times we have beautiful ideas, but implementation sometimes is the problem. So I hope it's not going to happen this time.
As a friend of mine was saying that the banks, they have to keep an eye on the banks because there's no way you can disburse all of these monies. You can't even do this thing without the banks.
Definitely.
They have to, make it easier for people to access the funds. And that's why NANS, for example, is excited because as sure as you said, it's going to remove the restrictions to accessing that student loan. If we don't find a way to simplify the process for people, banks will just simply be exploiting people and making money out of these things. Some people, even before they get into the bank, they will make them to part with some money. Nigerians always want to exploit an unfortunate situation. We don't care about our brothers and sisters as long as we're able to make money. If a place is getting really bad, as long as some people are making their billions from it, they won't be bothered. Look at the subsidy thing. You can't bring up removal of subsidy before some people were making money off it. You can't bring up the idea of breaching the, exchange rate convergence in the presence of people who are regularly collecting collecting dollars at 460 and taking it to black market to sell at more than 700. It is the kind of business that people do that turn them to billionaires overnight. And fellow Nigerians who are hardworking, they will be looking at them as never-do-wells. So I'm excited that one is gone. And I'm very excited that even the attempt in the, I think, was it House of Reps or Senate, the attempt by somebody who moved a motion that they should put that policy on hold. The attempt was defeated. It has to be defeated because ultimately it will bear fruit. So we just hope for the best.
And when you want to look at if at the end of the day we have consensus within the federal government and the Trade Union Congress and the Nigeria Labour Congress, a lot of people will say they want to see even the non-formal sector benefiting from this.
Yes, and of course, there's a provision for them already. That's why you are talking about nano businesses. That's your welder, that's your plumber that comes to fix your plumbing problem, your water system, your toilet, and all of that. Maybe Baba, all of those. But
organizers.
The organizers, yes, the mechanics. Well, I'm very much, I'm excited about that. In fact, that is one of the most exciting part of the speech for me, because when you talk about MSMEs, they don't think of them usually. No, they don't think of them usually. You understand? So we now have, I like that term, nano business. The very small businesses, they constitute a significant percentage of the working population of Nigerians. So this is how they can feel the impact of government. 50,000 naira can make a whole lot of difference in a lot of people's lives. And that's the truth. Like you mentioned, Mishai, how much is their turnover, you know? And some of them, they food up their businesses.
Egg, sugar,
exactly,
milk,
exactly. So the informal sector is being reached. Very, very important. But one more thing I want to say here is that I'm also excited that some state governments are complementing the efforts of the federal government. But many times, all eyes are just on the federal government. I know the federal government, it takes the pace, you know, makes the policies and all of that. You know, another thing that excited me was what the Lagos State governor did. You know, slashing the bus fares, the Lamata buses and all of that by 50%.
The public bus drivers, or what do we describe them? The commercial bus drivers, they are refusing to.
Yes, I was going to say, I've noted, I noted.
So that the governor would know.
Yeah.
And they move far more people than.
I know, I've talked to a number of them. No, I said, but I talked to a number of them.
So if those ones don't slash it, we won't have the impact of that.
I talked to a number of them actually.
Will not show.
They were saying, have they reduced fuel price? So if they reduce ticket price, what about fuel price? Well, I think MC Oluomo should. I think they said they were going to set up a monitoring and a compliance team and all of that. They should take note of areas that their people are not complying.
Lagos should make moves to acquire buses. As the federal government is taking those steps, even before the 3,000 buses that they are going to share comes, Lagos should take steps to acquire their own, because Lagos is like is a big economic power, and it should behave like one. When they came up with the train the other day, yeah, we praise them because that's the sort of thing we expect them to be doing. So now that our people are going through pain, Lagos should not wait until the federal government brings in those 3,000 vehicles. They too should take steps, bring in their own, and get them converted to CNG so that the fares will be very low.
All right, this is Journalist Hangout, and I still have Babajide Kolade, Tutor John Paul Tada in the studio. And Jide, we're still talking about this palliative. And in the present broadcast, the president reeled out so many incentives, and we said yesterday that if the implementation is properly monitored and it gets to its destination, that it will go a long way in touching the lives of people.
That is my biggest concern, and I think that every Nigerian should be worried, because when you look at what happened with Anchor Borrowers program, when you look at some of what has happened with NISAL is also under the CBN.
Okay.
People who pay money, they will tell them they are going to give them credit, they may not get it. People will lobby those who have genuine farmers. They will not get it. As I said before, people are forming fake cooperatives just for the purpose of accessing Anchor Borrowers funds. And that's why, at the end of the day, in terms of repayment of loans, Anchor Borrowers program is one of the most useless programs in Nigerian history. The point they were saying, oh, it's because they didn't allow us to get to our farms.
The number of people that
because of
security,
insecurity. It was at that point that the then CBN governor,
Murphy,
or the suspended CBN governor, was even begging bandits that, look, if you want money, we'll give you. Please let our people get to the farm, because the level of repayment of the loan was an embarrassment. At every point, people were refusing to pay. And to show you that it was such a monumental failure, all such interventions are meant to bring down prices. If government spends over $1 billion to support farmers, what is the goal? If it cannot bring down prices, and with the program in full flow, prices of rice, for example, cassava, all of those staples were going up. So what have you achieved? If you cannot bring down prices, if you can't cause prices to go down, then the policy has failed. So whichever way you look at it, today I was talking with someone who works in the Bank of Agric, and he said, Jide, you say it as it is. This is the problem. Anchor borrowers didn't achieve the aim. We just threw money down the drain. It didn't achieve the aim. I'm not in terms by the law of averages. I'm not saying, oh, it didn't achieve at all. There are some people benefited from it, but by the law of averages, it didn't achieve the aim. And it also needs to be investigated.
Honestly.
It needs to be, and including NISAL. NISAL. You heard that word from me again. NISAL, one of the agencies under CBN, also deserves to be thoroughly investigated, because NISAL itself is the abattoir of dreams of a lot of our agripreneurs. Because why won't you give credit to people who genuinely need it? Instead, it will get to those who can offer money or they don't. If we were talking about the matter of even management of the exchange rate. Banks, you know what the banks do? Banks will come to you and say, don't you want to travel? It is your BTA that they are after.
Yes.
It is your BTA. And bank staff will be colluding with people just so that they can cream off some money from the BTAs that you are entitled to when you travel. So there is no policy of government, and Asiwaju has to know this. He has to bear this in mind. If he wants his government to succeed, he has to bear it in mind that implementation is the key. Ensuring that people do not exploit an unfortunate situation to milk Nigerians. I can tell you, if we don't shine our eyes, as that musician sang, the Ajegunle boy, Nigerians will be ripped off massively with all of these efforts that government is making. A lot of this won't get to our people. The poorest of the poor, they will suffer. They will travel down to where they've been told to come and collect money and they will not collect it.
Yeah, it's a serious problem.
Well, finally on this, best way to go about it?
I think we just have to love our country. So many people don't love this country, Just have to love our country. And this has been the problem. Even not only in this dispensation, remember Taisho Lanis People's Bank, how it failed. Even humanitarian effort, you disburse money to refugee camp. There was a time I did a story many years ago. I went to interview someone, a prostitute. She said, look, I was in Oru camp. Hunger wanted to kill me because when officials were supposed to give us certain many bags of rice, let's say maybe 200 bags of rice, maybe they only release 15. When hunger wanted to kill us, we left the camp. The same thing is happening at the IDP camp.
They took to prostitution.
Prostitution. This is happening at the IDP camp. What is wrong with us?
Everywhere.
Why is it always like this, that people want to manipulate?
Let me tell you something that was happening in Maiduguri. We discussed it on this program, I think around 2016 or so. There are many people who are actually animals in human skin. They give rice to people in IDP camps. They deliberately do not cook the rice thoroughly so that many of the IDPs won't be able to eat it. They will now go and feed it to their livestock.
So they prefer their livestock to human beings.
They will not cook it, they won't cook it until it's done. It will be hard, and a lot of those people will not want to eat. So they will now go and feed their livestock. This is what people are doing. There was even a time when soldiers and police, I don't know if you remember, when soldiers and police clashed over rice meant for IDP camp. If you Google that story, you'll see it. They clashed over rice made for IDPs.
Shame of a nation.
I don't know the greed of our people, and they are the same people who open their mouths and say our government is bad. This is a useless government. It's a good for nothing government. Oh, these people, they don't love us. You are worse than the people that you are criticizing. In your heart, you can't even show mercy. And every Sunday you carry your Bible, you say you are going to mosque. Friday, before the Afa speaks into his megaphone to announce, you are at the door. You have removed your
So we give tithes from the proceeds
you
of
know your
crime.
slippers, whereas you are a rogue.
They will give tithes, make seed payment from proceeds of crime.
Nothing in your conduct suggests that you are Christ-like. Nothing in your conduct suggests that you listen to the preachment
Of the Bible.
of Muhammad. You do not love Muhammad in any way. You do not like his ways. But you want people to believe that you are a great Muslim. Later on, you go and build a mosque.
Exactly.
That you can deceive God.
You can deceive
You
God.
want to bribe God with a mosque. No.
Or you buy generator for your church.
Remember that boy now? He stole money. He stole money from a big-time hotel here. We don't want to mention the name. You know, we used to,
I know the story.
we were in the same company before now. The guy took the money that he stole from the hotel where he was working, and he took it to go and buy generator for his church. And the pastor will still give
A popular church.
I know, a popular with a good-looking
pastor.